right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first live stream show of Arkansas Motorsports Magazine. I'm Bill GILKEY with our co-host, the Chameleon of Motorsports, HEATH.
Yes.
And we're coming to you from Locust Grove, Arkansas at the beautiful Batesville Motor Speedway, where this week, tomorrow night, the 4th annual Race for Hope 71 gets underway here at the Batesville Motor Speedway. Now, talk to you a little bit before we get underway with our guest tonight, what all about Arkansas Motorsports Magazine is. Well, what we're doing is we have a weekly live stream show that will be coming at you every Tuesday night. This is a special Monday night edition because of the Race for Hope gets underway tomorrow night, so we had to move it a day ahead of schedule. But every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, we will be somewhere in the state of Arkansas talking motorsports. We'll be talking to drivers, we'll be talking to car owners, we'll be talking to promoters. We've just got a fun-filled hour scheduled for you every week, Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock. Also, with Arkansas Motorsports Magazine, you'll get a monthly issue that's available on the internet at arkansasmotorsports.com. We've got some great articles in there for this month. If you'll go online to that web address, you'll be able to see this month's edition. It's supposed to come out tomorrow, but actually we're a few days ahead of schedule, and it's available out there.
People can get on there and check it out.
Check that out. We got a very nice article on Cecil Harlan, who the past promoter of Tri-State Speedway for many, many years. We made the trip down to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, to Wild Man Racetrack. Tell us a little bit about that.
That was lots of fun. They had lots of neat people down there. Trucks they had all fixed up. Mud racing is what it is. It's a drag strip on mud. It's a half U, and it's something to see. If you ever get a chance to go, y'all need to go down there to the Wild Man Racetrack and check that out. It's fun.
We also spent some time weekend before last at the Racers Reunion over at the Centerville Dragway, and we met a lot of great people. Bear Brantley was there with the Arkansas Drag Racing Hall of Fame, and we got to spend the afternoon and evening with some of Arkansas's great drag racers. Matter of fact, we've got one of them on the show tonight. It's going to be a little bit later. Mr. Ray Sullins is with us. It was just fun hanging out with him and Bear Brantley and Dwight Cox and all those other guys. It was just a great afternoon visiting with those guys.
Good night of racing.
And like I said, we'll be traveling across the state next year and making as many race appearances as we can. This winter, don't think the racing season's coming to an end because, like I said, every week we're going to be at somebody's race shop, we'll be at somebody's speedway, we'll be somewhere talking motorsports. Like I said, sign up for Arkansas Motorsports Magazine.com. There's a subscription rate of $6 a month. But here in October, we're going to be doing the live streams on Tuesday night for free. Tuesday night tune-up is what we call it. Special edition tonight called Monday Night Tune-Up, I guess.
Monday night we're here.
Monday night we're here. The cars and the haulers are already rolling in. If you look over here, if you could see out behind us here at the Batesville Motor Speedway, the pit area is filling up out here for this great racing. We got 2 drivers here tonight. They're going to be on the show. They're going to be in the race.
Be down there racing this weekend.
Glad to have them here. So
there's people from California, Arizona, Oregon, Oklahoma. There's people from all over the United States here tonight, pulling in and getting ready for this week of racing here in Batesville.
I see one pulling in right now. And but they're going to fill up, especially tomorrow. Practice gets underway tomorrow night with time trial qualifying, and then Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, more qualifying action. We'll let those guys be on the show here. We got Travis Mosley with us tonight. We got John WAUGH with us tonight, and we've also got Batesville Motor Speedway owner Mooney Starr here tonight. So we've got an exciting show to get underway. And hey, let's get started. What do you say? And our first guest tonight, our first guest ever on our special edition of Monday Night Tune-Up, which next week will be Tuesday Night Tune-Up. We know it's a little confusion, but we've got the driver of the 31M IMCA modified from right here in Batesville, Arkansas. Make welcome Travis Mosley. Travis, thank you for coming on the show.
Yes, sir.
And like I said, this guy over here, he's known to ask the tough questions that other motorsports journalists are afraid to ask.
Well, I sure appreciate y'all having me here.
Hey, we're tickled to death that you would come on, and I'll just let Heath get started here.
I guess the first question would be, Travis, is just how did you get started in motorsports?
Well, I'd say I was probably 13 or 14. My grandpa, he bought an old Camaro we had called Plum Crazy, because it was white, had purple numbers or whatever, and he went around in this flatbed trailer he hauled his tractor in. We would go to the racetrack, and I'd go with him, and that kind of got the itch. They asked me at the end of the year, hey, do you want to drive this thing next year? I was like, shoot, yeah, I want to drive. You know, I'm 14 years old. Yeah, I want to drive them. And first race or second race out, I wrecked it pretty bad. Wasn't useful after that, so we kind of dug around there and found another hobby stock, and I drove hobby stock for a couple of years, and then just kind of went on from there.
And at this point in time, you were living in Bearden
Yes,
and
sir.
driving Drew County Speedway?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish that was a fun play. I wish that place was still open. I hate to.
It always looked
Yeah,
like a
it
nice
shut down.
speedway. I never went to a race there, but I did drive past it one time.
That was
It
a nice
little
facility.
facility.
It was.
You went from there to
Went to a Crate Lake model.
Crate Lake model.
We actually bought it from Jeff Taylor here in Batesville. The couple guys that went with me, Jim Johnson and Bubba Hargett, they knew him. Bubba used to live up here, and he worked at the bank, and so he knew everybody out here. He went raced with a few guys at the track. Anyway, so they got me hooked up with him, with Jeff Taylor, and we bought that late model from him and raced it as a crate the first year, raced like 40 times or something. Got second in points my first year at Drew County in that deal. And then the next year we tried to run some open late model stuff, and it just wasn't really for us at the time, so we traded and got a modified, and here we are. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to modified racing in what? 2011, 12?
12, I think, was my first year in mod. 13 maybe. I think it was 12 though.
I remember you used to come to Centerville a little bit, run Crate Lake Mall.
Yes, sir.
When me and Tommy New had that facility leased years ago, and you always done a good job there on the short track, and we always appreciate you making the long trip.
Yeah, that was neat. I liked it. That was a neat place too. I admit, I like going. Short tracks wasn't really my deal, but that place seemed that I could fit it pretty good. So
You always put on a good show there, and we appreciate it.
And now you've went from Bearden, Arkansas to living here in Batesville.
yes, sir. I guess July of this past year. Well, it really started in February of last year. So we kind of heard around that Larry Shaw might be interested in, getting out, retiring, and we knew Jeff Taylor because I got a car from him, driving on his chassis. And so we just kind of heard around, and so we started asking questions and more, and Dad and Larry started talking more about it, and the deal got final in July of last year. And so I had actually moved up here in May of last year and lived with Jeff Taylor and his family there for a little bit, for a month or two until I could get a house up here, and went with him to North Dakota in July of last year when we had our first car made out of after we took over Shaw's, and went to the North Dakota tour. We got 5th in points, I think he did. I was just a crew guy there, and then that's, kept going from there.
Kept going from there. Now you're working here at Shaw every day of the week.
Yes, sir.
Working on race cars and building race cars, and now your family owns that business, huh?
Yes, sir. It's a pretty cool deal. I never would have dreamed that it would come to that, and it has, and I couldn't be more thankful for my parents and Jeff.
And you're getting to race here at the nice Batesville Motor Speedway on a weekly basis now.
Yes, sir. It's so funny. I always loved coming to this place, and I always ran terrible. And a couple places that I'd run good at, I didn't want to go to, but I'd love to come up here, and I just couldn't get no better, couldn't get any better. And then it's taken me a year and a half of running here every week to finally break over the hump and feel like I've kind of got something that works here.
Well, for the people at home, and Batesville is just a unique animal.
It is.
You know, it's, it's tough to come here your first time and do really well, or especially win a race, but what is it about the track out there and the competition here that separates Batesville from a lot of other speedways in that regard?
The speed mostly. Like you just kind of look at it like, when it's wide open and it's fast, it's super fast. It's probably one of the fastest places when it's fast and it's got traction. And then when it gets slick, you're still going so fast that it's hard for your mind to slow down and know, hey, you gotta slow down and go in the corner. You can't drive in as hard as you can because you're just going so fast. It's hard for your mind to slow down and process what you need to do to drive when it gets slowed down. And so that's where a lot of guys, I feel like, struggle as they come here and then when it's in hot laps or something, it's probably got a lot, most of the time it's got a lot of traction. But then when it slows down, they just can't slow down because you're used to it. It's so big, you think you can drive all the way in there, and it's just hard for them to process. You've got to slow yourself down.
But that's a unique perspective because, generally in racing, the last thing you're thinking about is slowing yourself down. I guess it goes back to the old adage, sometimes when you look slow, you're actually fast. So, but no, that's an interesting perspective.
Being smoother in this place is the number one key, and it's hard to do.
I guess you ran this year. I know you talked about going with Jeff last year, but did you run the Dakota Tour this year?
I got to go up there this year. Mentally, I didn't do very good. I didn't make a show up there. I kind of split my year up into 2 seasons. The first half of the year, I felt like I built a new car when I come back from Arizona in January, and that might not have been the thing to do right then, because I chased my tail, it felt like, till about, I come back from North Dakota. We made one little small change on my car, and it brought it to life, and it helped me do stuff. But yeah, the first half of the year, I didn't run as good as I felt like I could have. I mean, I come out here and I got like a top 3 or something, and then,
But you have to admit, especially in dirt track racing, if you're not changing something and trying something, your competitors out there like John Waugh, he's going to try something, and if you're not trying something, somebody else is, and then you're behind the game. Yes, I mean, that's how the technology of the sport is, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and compared to my old car, my new car it was quite a bit different with how the metal we used different tubing to build it, and I had different spindles and just different things that it took me half the year to get the feel of.
If you don't care, to the people that are watching, go through the construction of an IMCA car. Kind of discuss the construction.
So right now there's 2 options for the front stubs. You have a Southwest Speed stub, which they're based out of Fort Smith, and then AFCO makes their stub. And the AFCO stub is a little bit thicker. It's easier for us as a manufacturer to put together. It's more plug and play type deal. It's thicker, it weighs a little bit more, it's stiffer overall. Well then, you got what most people, we use mostly, is just regular DOM steel tubing. And like the cages are 1 3/4, our horn bars are 1 1/2, 1 1/4, and then there we got your rear frame rails, and then it's all DOM mostly. And then so like, in contrast, my new car we built mostly was Pro Moly, which is it's 4130. It's kind of like Pro Moly. It's about the same thing. It's just you got to do a little bit more paperwork. It's a little bit different. And that's what we built my new car out of. It's stronger. It's got better memory. If you bend it, it's supposed to bend back in place better. A little bit stiffer. And I don't know, I felt like the first year they messed up because I had on the AFCO stub, which is already stiffer, and then I built with stiffer tubing. So I think maybe that kind of had a play in what took so long to
get used to it.
Yes, sir.
In the day-to-day operations at Shaw, tell us about what's the length of time from start to finish to build a car.
Well, John and Mitch, John he's one of the better fabricators I've seen. And that's John Young and Mitchell Namey's two of the employees there. If they work together and do everything, they can build a car from stub, which the stub comes in boxes. We have to weld it together, or or Mitchell does that. And then between them two, they can build a car from stub to like getting ready to go to powder coating in 7 hours. Which, that doesn't sound like a lot of time, but it sounds like, well, you know, I'm telling you,
They're hooked up.
yes. It's from the time they get there to the time they leave, they can get one done in a day. And it's pretty amazing to see that. I mean, and that helps if like a couple of us like me or Jeff, or we'll go out there and cut tubing for them, and they have it already bent, already notched mostly. So that's all they just go to the shelf. We got a rack. He's got every cut, every bar that goes on that car. He's already got it pre-cut, pre-bent, pre-notched for him just to go over there and put it where it needs to go. And he's got it all in his head. I mean, he just knows all the measurements and stuff.
You know, too, and being manufacturers, obviously is a good thing if you're out, but I can also attest to where sometimes you're at a disadvantage, especially you and Jeff, because y'all also got to do a little research and development throughout the season.
I don't as much. I'm not as good. I'm just going to say that my field is different than most guys. I mean, like me and him are two totally different setups, and it's crazy to think. And I can drive his car and think it's terrible, and he'll drive mine and think it's terrible, and we can both still be fast, but it's our feel that we have.
Right.
It just doesn't match each other, and it's crazy that, you know, what's the same car.
Everybody's got a different feeling
Right.
of how they want their car.
And how I drive versus how he drives is different, you know, and that makes a lot of difference on how you tune to each other.
Tell us, as we get ready for the Race for Hope this week, what does Travis Mosley do to prepare for this race?
Just make sure a lot of my issues or a lot of my deal is mental. If my head's not in it, then so I just try to make sure, you know, don't get down on myself, don't question myself, kind of look back and, hey, you know, I've done pretty good here the last half of the season, just kind of go off that and just remind myself that, you know, hey, you can do pretty good out here. Just make sure the car's right. Like tomorrow, before I come out here for practice, I'll just go over it once more and make sure everything's where it needs to be and every bolt's tight and stuff, and just trying to make sure.
Well, you was talking about, you know, this latter half of the season, and I got to admit, there's not too many nights here lately that the 31 had been pulled into victory, up on victory lane out here, or you know, a runner-up finish. So you've had an amazing second half of the season here. And, you know, we were talking before the show that when I see your car get up on the high side, everybody better look out, because you've got some momentum coming off turn 2 and turn 4. It's working extremely well. So any of you competitors out there this week in the Race for Hope, keep Travis down low. You hearing that over there, John?
I hear.
But I'm gonna tell you, this guy will find a way to the top, and then it's just like pulling back a slingshot and it's gone. It's been fun to watch.
It's funny you say that. Out here Thursday night, the night that I won, we had a restart with like 2 or 3 laps into the race. The guy that was in second, he chose the inside line the first restart. Well, I got to third, and of course all they got in here was scoreboard's the top 3. And well, we had a caution there, and I just got to third. And it's funny because he chose the outside line the second restart. You know?
I remember that.
And I mean, it didn't. I kind of laughed. I immediately laughed about it, you know, when he's under there. I thought, hey, you know, he knows it's where I'm gonna go. But I mean, it worked out Thursday. I mean, it's tough. I mean, he's been that guy that did that. I mean, he's Rick Ingles. He's raced me. We've raced some pretty good races here the last 3 or 4 nights that I've been here.
Rick's
made it hard on me.
He's had a good season too. He's been very tough out there.
He's made it hard on me for sure the last couple weeks.
Well, as we wrap up your segment here, Travis, what are your expectations and hope for this week for the Race for Hope 71?
Just be competitive every time I get on the racetrack. And I mean, if competitive is if I run second in the heat, but I'm not too far behind the leader, or I just want to be competitive. I don't want to go out there and think, man, I left something out there on the racetrack. I want to go out there every time I get on the racetrack, know that I gave it 100%, and I'll take whatever happens. You know, if I can give it 100% and I finish 5th in the heat, or don't even make a feature at any of the nights or anything, I mean, I'll feel better about it knowing that I gave it 100%. every day,
Well, good deal.
every time I go on the racetrack.
Well, Travis, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule this
Oh,
week,
I
as we
appreciate
know
you
it's
having me.
busy to come by and visit with us, especially on our first cast. It's been a pleasure having you tonight, and we wish you the very best this week.
I appreciate y'all having me.
Good luck this week.
Thank you. I kinda like what you're doing here. I
You bet.
like to keep up with this.
Yeah.
Thank
All
y'all.
right.
Thank you.
Maybe you'll invite us over to Shaw's sometime, we'll do a show from over
Open
there.
house.
All right.
Whenever you need to come.
Thank you.
you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Travis Mosley, the driver of the 31M. And before we have our next guest come on, we got to thank our sponsors for tonight. Very first one, Batesville Motor Speedway, the Race for Hope 71 this week. Also, True Grit Auctions down in Dardanelle, Arkansas. Gary Morris and his staff. And Icky's DCR Racing Parts and Accessories down on North Little Rock on Aspen Drive. Be sure to keep all those people in your thoughts when you have those type of needs. And Heath, if you will, you want to welcome in our second guest.
Yes, we've got Ray Sullins that'll be here, and Ray was a drag racer back in the 60s and 70s. And how are you, sir?
And he's a member of the Arkansas Drag Racing Hall of Fame.
Yes, he is. And also 2007 Hall of Fame for Dick Harrell.
Dick Harrell Drag Racing Hall.
Drag Racing Hall of Fame. I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I was kind of picking his brain out here a little bit earlier because I'd seen a 64 Comet, and I actually showed it to the sheriff, and I guess that was your first race car, and I was just kind of intrigued with the 64 Comet being your first car, and
Well, that was my first serious car.
serious car.
That was known as A Factor Experimental. There was 20 of those built. That Mercury Division built 20 of those. Ford built 100 of the Fairlane, called them T-bolts, Thunderbolts. They were built for super stock, but they only built 20 of the Comets, so they had to run factory experimental. And I had one of those in 1964, and that got me deep into the drag racing.
Okay. If you tell us, and everybody watching, how did you get into drag racing, at the beginning?
It was really an accident, I guess. I had always done it all my life since I was big enough to drive a car. I would hot rod the car, and when it was kids, we'd go to other towns with whoever had the fastest car in that town. We would go off to another town and we would race whoever had the fastest car there. And that was just something that I always done. And I remember thinking as a kid that, boy, I would like to do this for a living. Back in those days, I'll be 80 years old in a couple of months. And back in those days, no one made a living out of racing. And, that was just a far-fetched thought. And lo and behold, a few years after that, I was doing it for a living full time, and that was my profession. It's just, things have a way of falling in place sometimes. My dad gave me some information one time. My mother and dad divorced when I was 14. My dad told me, he said, whatever you decide to do in life to make a living, try to be the best at you can be. And remember one thing, you can do anything in life that you want to do if you want to do it bad enough. I've never forgot those words. So, it's still out there. A person can still do it, but you got to have the want to.
And you went from that get started to, you were building engines and you were working with,
Well, I met a lot of people through racing. Some of the best people I've ever met in my life were racers or associated with it. At one time, I think the racers were kind of looked down on as maybe a second-class citizen, but there's no truth there. Some of the finest people I've ever known in my life were racers. Drag racers, stock car racers, whatever. But, I was racing the Comet. I had a little help from Ford for the first 2 years with parts. And we started branching out in match racing, different parts of the country. And And golly, I was gone all the time. And I met a lot of people and had a lot of contacts through that. And I raced against Kelly Chadwick every year until through 1967. And I went to work for him in '68. I moved to Dallas, Texas, and drove a car for him. And
They're at the Chevrolet dealership there at
Stackler
Dallas.
Chevrolet, yes, sir. And it's just, that just opens up a lot of doors. You meet a lot of fine people all over the world. And, you know, it's not really a local thing completely, because you wind up going, I found it harder to win a race at home than off in any state you want to go to. It was easier to win away from home than it was here at home. Some of the best racers are in this part of the country. It seems like the were then for sure, and I'm sure it hasn't changed any, but it's tough to win at home.
You did a lot of the engine building stuff for Kelly.
Yes.
And I guess you left Dallas at that time and come back and went to Fred Gibbs Chevrolet.
A little town of 1,300 people, Harp, Illinois.
Okay.
Fred Gibbs Chevrolet, he was a sponsor for Dick Harrell, and I run the very first ZL1 Camaro that they built 69 of those in '69. Mine was #1 serial number. Fred Gibbs got it through Copo, little town, 1,300 people, and he had 69 Camaros, aluminum engines in them. You know, that was kind of, most people wouldn't have believed that could happen, but of course he had a little help. He was personal friends with Vince Piggins, Ed Cole, and some of the others there. Ed Cole was president of GM at the time, and they visited them together, so he had a little contact, but some help. But you know, racing's been good to me all my life, really. And like I say, I'll be 80 in a couple of months, and it's still my blood, I promise you. In fact, I still make the reunion race at Centerville each year, and I'll drive something in that race each year.
We've seen that.
If I could interrupt just a minute. And I didn't know this until we were at the Racers Union, but that Camaro that you drove, that you showed us the pictures of, from the time I was a small kid, all the car magazines and everything had pictures of that car in it at races and talked about Ray Sullins. And it goes back to what we're doing here with Arkansas Motorsports magazine. We're trying, one of the main things that we're doing is preserving the history of the sport. I had no idea you were from Arkansas. All the years growing up and going back and looking back through, and I had a hot rod magazine collection that would fill this room, and I had no idea you were from Arkansas. And that was a great thing. We're there with visiting with Barry Brantley, and I'm looking, and there's that picture, and I'm thinking, I remember that, and I said something about it, and Barry goes, well, yeah, he's right over there. And it was just, it was an honor that day to get to meet you, because I didn't realize at the time, I didn't connect you and the car. I just, you know, and like I said, that goes back to what we're trying to do with the magazine is to tell your stories. And Barry even said today, he said, you know, there is so much drag racing history in the state of Arkansas that goes nationwide that nobody knows
about. Right.
And that's one of the things that we're trying to do in all levels of motorsport is tell those stories. That's what this is about.
I appreciate y'all trying to preserve the history. That's something that's like your grandmother and grandfather. You should talk to them and write down, even record things, just ask them. Someday you won't be able to ask them, they won't be here. And there's a lot of lost memories there that will never be known. So it's good to, like history, why does anyone want to do away with history? Man, we need to preserve all the history we can in anything. And I appreciate what y'all are doing, much like Barry Brantley's trying to do with.
And he's doing a fantastic job, and we're enjoying, you know, our relationship and working with him, and you know, and I talked to Bear on Monday, and he's going to be on the show in a few weeks.
Right.
And he has just done a fantastic job with the Arkansas Drag Racing Hall of Fame.
You know, I mentioned before ago, it was a lot easier to win away than it is at home. There's been some mighty good racers come. Just think at one time, there was 3 NASCAR teams running out of Batesville, Arkansas at the same time. E.J. Biggers, who is dead now, he's one that started E.J.'s Bigger Burgers in Batesville. And he started a lot of things. He was a character. I loved E.J. But he's one that bought the old Scoot and Cooter from Sice Brothers in Kansas City that I won the Nationals with in 1967. And boy, that's a story in itself. We heard an engine on Friday night in Detroit, didn't have a spare. Chrysler had banned all fuel running nitromethane. You couldn't burn it, they wouldn't hit with any parts. And we heard a motor, and I called a good friend of mine who's gone now, but Moore, he was, used to be the Memphis district manager for Chrysler in Memphis. And we'd stayed in touch all the time, and I tried to get a motor. He could not get one. So we had spun a main bearing in a block on the Hemi that was running fuel. Between each run, I took the pan down, took the bearings out, and packed them with the stiffest wheel bearing grease I could find, which was the old Texaco wheel bearing grease. And I packed the rod and main bearings and that stuff, filled it up with oil, about half oil, half STP to give a little cushion, and we started up after the other car had already made its burnout, getting ready to stage, and we won that race that day. The last run, we had run everyone in the pits out of oil, and the last run, I run 167, almost 168 miles an hour, and shut the car off. Didn't know who had won a race, it was that close. And when I heard EJ come down blowing a horn, I knew I'd won. But you know, that was, we got the car home, I took the pan off to check it, and the main bearings had melted and was hanging down from the crankshaft to the pan. It looked like taffy. That was the last engine, that was the last run that car made, that engine made. So, you know, it's a lot of work, but man, there's a lot of stories that I could tell. Some I can't tell, but.
Right. Well, there's one story that I wanted you to tell, and that was, I know when you started with a guy here like you see on TV where we've got street racers out here where the guy's sitting here and he's dropping the flag or dropping the, when you started with a flagger. And then you went from a flagger to a tree.
Yes, sir.
In your time there, and how difficult was it going from this guy here waving his flag, telling you to go to a tree? That
was quite difficult. You know, a flagger, there's flagmen that claim to be the best, and you can't read them. But you can read any flagman if you study him. He'll make some movement somewhere in his body. There'll be a movement before he pulls the flag, and you got to figure out what that movement is. And then, you know, when he makes that movement, you can go and you get a little jump. Well, that worked to my advantage because I've studied the flagman, man, what I studied. But when we went to the Christmas tree, man, that thing ate my lunch for quite some time. Finally, I realized that no matter what you do, if you wait to see green, you're really late. So you've got the time. Of course, back then they didn't have delay boxes and stuff like they've got now. You had to actually read the tree and lead. But the main thing there, you've got to get your head screwed on straight. You've got to have total concentration at the start line. There cannot be a bug or anything get in your way between you, and the only thing you can see is that Christmas tree. If you see anything else, you'll be late. Total concentration.
Well, as we wrap up your segment here, anything else you'd like to say, sir? Again, it's an honor to have you here tonight.
It's an honor to be here. I've always tried to be of any help I could be to anyone that's interested in any type of racing. That's once the bug bites you, you're bit for life. There's no ever really getting away from it. like old racehorse, while they hear the bugle, it's time to go. But, I appreciate y'all having me on, I appreciate what you're doing, and if I can ever be of any help in any way.
Well, I can promise you that here in the near future, we're probably going to be knocking on your door, and we're going to sit down and really talk at length and videotape your experiences through racing. I think it would be just absolutely informative.
Yeah, very much so.
So we'll be making the trip to Heather Springs to visit with you, and here in the near future, and hear some more of your stories.
I appreciate very much what you're doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, for Ray Sullins.
Thank you.
All right, we move right along with the show here, and like I said again, we want to thank True Grit Auction Company down in Dardanelle, Icky's DCR Racing Parts and Accessories, and the Batesville Motor Speedway's Race for Hope this week for helping bring the show here from Batesville Motor Speedway tonight.
Great racing this week. Everybody come out and watch.
Come out. It's going to be good. Like I said, they're still pulling in 2 or 3 at a time out here in the pit area tonight. It's going to be full tomorrow. Our next guest is a fine young man, hard racer from right here in Batesville, Arkansas. I've just been ecstatic that he was going to be with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we could welcome John Wagh, driver of the number 21 modified here at Batesville.
And we hit it off right off the bat.
Oh man, we did.
Y'all are a lot alike. I can already tell. He's over there laid back like HEATH does, sitting at his desk and about to go to sleep. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, Mr. Heath, he's a easy guy to get along with, cool guy to meet.
He is that. I said earlier, if we hooked him and Mooney Starr up for more than 30 minutes,
We'd be in trouble.
What would be going on?
We'd be in trouble.
Yeah, we might be in trouble.
John, like I said, tell us, kind of like we did with Trent, tell us how you got started racing. I know you come from a racing family. I've been up here around Batesville long enough to figure that out. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my story of starting racing was I used to, when I was growing up, I used to race motorcycles and motocross with all my friends and that sort of thing. And growing up, my dad would always try to get me to make the move from a motorcycle to the car. I was always getting hurt, seemed like hitting my head, something. So almost kind of started to not like cars for a little bit there. But time went on, I stopped racing motorcycles, and finally one day just woke up, told Dad it's time to go racing. So now here I am talking to y'all.
Well, see how your career has springboarded you.
Yeah.
You springboarded all the way to opening night of a Monday night tune-up. So see how your career has taken off.
Now from the motorcycle.
How old were you first? Go ahead.
How old were you when you first sat down in the first race car? I mean, from the motorcycle to the car.
Actually, last year was when I began racing and driving cars. I think I drove once, maybe back when I was about 16 or so, but drove it once. That was about it. And then
So you just jumped both feet straight into the modified right off the bat. Is that what you're saying?
we went in head first, and I'll tell you what.
I got to tell you a John Wagh story that he didn't even know.
Oh,
And he may remember it. And this is how I got to watching John. I was teching then here at Batesville Motor Speedway. And when you're teching cars, you don't get to watch a lot of racing because you're busy teching the cars after the race. Well, sometimes if we get done early enough, Mooney lets the guys practice a little bit after the races. So my deal always, I'm parked down there in the infield, so I got to load all my tools and equipment up and get out of here before. And I didn't think anybody was going to practice that night, so I was taking my time, and me and Bob Ellis, we were down there talking a little bit, and I just got the tailgate shut on my truck, and I hear this engine fire up. Well, it's 2.5 hours home for me. And if I get caught down there, you never know how long these guys are going to practice. Well, I tried to hurry up and get out with John. He's already on the track, and I'm going, well, great. You know, maybe he'll only make a couple laps. Well, no, I could tell when he got going, he was going to be out there for a little while. Well, there's nothing I can do. I get on my truck down here at turn 3, and I just go watching him. And every lap, he kept getting faster and faster. And what I really got impressed with was how well he was getting into turn 3. And I told him, this kid gets some experience, and he's going to be a great race car driver. And I mean, he's coming along, and that night that you held me up from getting home early was what really, you know, got me to pay more attention to you. But I interrupted, now, I'm sorry, I just want to throw that out there.
Well, I'm glad I held you up that night.
But yeah, so I said, you just jumped in both feet into the modified head first, and here you are. It's your second year driving.
Sure is, it sure is. Yeah, I jumped in head first, but I come from a racing family, and I've got some great guys behind me in my corner that really make the learning process just a lot better, a lot more friendly. And I couldn't have done it without them. So without the guys I've got behind me, I'd be nowhere near I am today.
You know, and I wanted to say something earlier, but, you know, and you can hit on this. You know, a lot of people think racing, okay, you know, all right, we're gonna go racing this weekend. But it's not just like that. I mean, you know, when you get done out here racing on Friday night, you go home Saturday. I mean, you go home Friday night. Saturday, you know, people don't realize you're working on that car, and you're working on the car Sunday. You're working on the car Monday. You know, it's not just that you come out here and race. So explain to everybody out here watching a little bit, you know, about, you know, it's almost like an everyday thing working on that race car.
Man, it is a full-time job, and you know, I used to be a little bit embarrassed about it, not anymore because I just love racing so much, but I have no hobbies almost anymore. It's just thinking about racing, breathing racing, working on something. So there's always something to do. And even if there's not anything to do, it's always just a good idea. And just go tinker with your car, go mess with it, learn something, just try to see something, just anything racing, just live it, you know what I mean? And
Right. You know, because like you said, you're second year into this. You're learning everything about that car. You're learning, you know. And I'm sure when you tear something up, your dad and them sitting there, you got to fix it. You know?
Oh yeah.
That way you know how to do that.
Exactly. And I really don't mind that. You know, I have tore some stuff up. Oh, I guarantee you that. But I have not minded working on it and learning how to fix it and just learning the ins and outs of the cars. And it's really just, I love everything about it. It's just a great deal. I'm so glad I come from a racing family where I've been given this awesome opportunity just to be a part of his life and be here in Batesville. And
Tell us a little bit about your family.
my family, well, there's some characters, every one of them. There's not a single one of them that you might call normal. We move houses as our career, so not many times you meet a house mover. It's pretty cool. We can load up a house on some beams and take her wherever you need us to take her. And really, my dad's dad and my great uncle, Jerry, is who really began the racing of the WAUGH family. So we really have them to thank for making that leap and getting us all in there.
Now, Jerry is how old?
He is going to be, he is 77 or 78. And fun fact, he's the oldest winner here at Batesville Motor Speedway.
I was announcing the race. You know, he had a little streak there where he won a couple of weeks in a row. And I was announcing here then. And you know, I was new up here. Really didn't know anybody. And the next thing I know, he pulls up down here. We had Victory Lane then, which is up by the fence. The flap comes open in the roof of the car, and here this guy comes out. And I thought, that's great. You know, you could tell he was, you know, on up in there, but he's out here racing, and I just thought that was great. And as competitive as he was.
Oh, it is. It's so cool to see, and he's one of the coolest people I've ever met. And I don't see how anyone could have a cooler great uncle.
Well, I tell you, I've met your dad, watched him race out here, won a few races, and like I said, you've got a rich heritage in racing here that you've got to live up to. So, and you're on your way. You're on your way. Your first year in, really, first full year, I would guess. And where do you think your progression is?
You know, I think it's gone good. Seems, you know, this modified is just an extremely complicated car, and the learning process is it's slow, but I think it's going good. It just takes time. There's really no remedy for time and experience, so really sometimes that's just kind of what it comes down to. And you know, I think every time I'm on the track, I'm learning something.
And you know, you sit there, you talk about the modified, and, you know, you started off in Batesville, Arkansas, all right, on the fastest track in the state of Arkansas by far to go out and get in the wheel, behind the wheel of a modified. And, you know, so, I mean, to be able to go out here and run with all these guys and stuff on your second year, and especially in Batesville, I mean, it's, like I said, this is a fast track.
Oh, it's a, you know, these past couple of years have already been an experience that not many people get to have. I'm just so glad to be here, and starting off, you know, it's definitely, I don't know what you would even call it, it's just an experience getting lined up against these guys when you don't really know what you're doing. And, I mean, every single one of these guys are,
I want
before
to
you
tell
even
you,
take the green flag, they're gone. So.
a few weeks ago, we had the topless 100 here, and the modifieds, you know, we're racing with the late models that night, and I was announcing the race, and I mean, there was a star-studded field of modifieds out there. We went under caution, and I was talking during caution. I was talking about how tough the field was on back, you know, and we, you know, we were halfway through the feature that night, third or fourth row on the restart. There's such John Wagh,
Right.
you know. I mean,
Yes,
and I tell you something about that race that was so great that week. We had some excellent modified racing that week.
Oh, for sure.
And it you know, it'll probably the biggest thing we had all year compared to what we're going to have this week. And John Wagh in the 21 is out. He's right in the thick of things. And I was proud. I was proud to see you. You know, because from a distant looking back, I think your racing career is progressing on track where it needs to be. You know, I don't think anybody's feeding you to the wolves. And I think they've got you on track for some great things to come, and I can't say enough about from the time you started to where you're at right now. I mean, there's good things coming for John Wagh. I mean, I can tell. And just something else on John. Last year, I think it was, you had your first top 5 finish. And I've never seen a race car driver. He got out of his car and he come running to me. And he's the only driver I've known that ran and was glad to see the tech guy. You know, I mean, he was so happy to be in tech. Yeah, most of them are not wanting to see me at all, but he was so ecstatic because, you know, he got his first top 5 and it was great to be down there and visit with you when that happened. But I'm telling you, there are great things to come for you in the future. You know, one other thing, and I don't know if Mooney knows this or not, but there's one thing that John Wagh does every week that I wish every driver here at the Batesville Motor Speedway would do. And if you could look out through the windows, and I wish our camera could spin around, okay, but it's a long ways over to the pits from over here. It's all the way over on the other side. Every week, you know, without notice, John Wagh comes over here to the grandstand side and hangs around out here in the breezeway and everything and visits with the fans and the kids.
Talks to the kids.
Talks to the kids, talks to the fans, and I don't even know if Mooney knows he does that, but John Wagh, without warning, comes every week. And I know race car drivers are busy and everything, but he makes time to make the trip over here every week to visit with the fans and the kids out here in Batesville. And for you drivers that are out there watching this at home or going to watch the tape delayed version of it, take a lesson from John Wagh and do what John does and come over and help us take care of our fans here at the Batesville Motor Speedway.
The most important part of racing right there, the fans.
And that is just super to see you do that every week. And
Without them, we have no racing.
Exactly.
But he shows up every week out here and takes time out of getting ready for the races and visits with the fans and the kids out here, especially the kids, you know. And that's just awesome that you do that. And it helps, you know, like I said, I think the fans here appreciate it. Well, I can tell they do because, you know, when we announced John Wagh, you hear the crowd out here, you've got some fans over here, and but we need more of that. We need more of that in the sport. So Before we wrap up here, what's your expectations for this week?
Well, it's a lot of unknowns, so just go out there, use my head, make the best decisions as I can, and hopefully we end up Saturday where we want to be, and give the fans some good racing to watch.
You got to admit, this qualifying procedure that we have here for the Race for Hope, it's tough.
It's intimidating.
It's exactly right, because of the drivers that come. We've got some here right now from California, some coming from Oregon, North Carolina. You got the best of the best here this week.
Oh, that's right.
And John WAUGH is going to be right out there with them.
We'll be giving them our best shot. We'll see what the 21 has for them, but I don't know. Hopefully we'll be this happy by the end of the week.
Well, we hope
so too.
Well, John, like we said, like I said, looking from the distance, I think you're on track for a great dirt track career if you hang with it. And I think you got the enthusiasm to do it. And it was a pleasure to have you here tonight. And I know it's going to be busy this week, but I hope to see you a little bit over here visiting with the fans and our kids that show up. That's really big. And like I said, I hope more drivers that are watching this out there tonight take a lesson from John WAUGH, find some time before the races, come over and visit with the fans and kids, and help us out here. John, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
We look forward to visiting with you in Victory Lane sometime when you get that first win. I promise you, I'm going to make the trip down, and we're going to interview you from Victory Lane down there.
Hey, we're both looking forward
All
to
right.
that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Heath.
Thank you.
And last but not least tonight, ladies and gentlemen, our last guest on the show tonight is none other than Batesville Motor Speedway owner Mooney Starr. Mooney,
Hey, how y'all?
good to have you tonight.
Well, first off, I thought this was a radio, and I just drove in from Joplin. Everybody else looks nice, look out. And second of all, is this from 7 to 8?
Yes.
I mean, y'all give me like 8 minutes. I need.
No, we're going longer tonight.
We know you're going to talk longer.
We scheduled you last, and we knew you had a lot to say. And we also didn't know your drive time from Joplin, so we appreciate you and Connie letting us be here tonight.
Yes,
So-
Well, I'm really proud. Anything that promotes racing, I want to be a part of it. I'm glad y'all got this going because guys like me have got a lot of money invested in this sport, and I got to keep it going. And that's why I try to have big races. I try to keep interest up, but internet, anything positive, keeping racing out there is what we got to have. So that there's a lot of they play Candy Crush, or there's a lot of people after the entertainment dollar, and we got to get the younger group like we just had John WAUGH come into dirt tracks and get them into dirt track racing. Once they get into it, it's gonna get their blood and they're gonna love it. But it's just hard to get new people to get into it. That's what we got to do.
But I think too, people like John WAUGH doing what he does every week, taking time to come all the way over here, that's going to help generate a lot of interest in these young kids. They get to meet a race car driver, up person, close.
Oh, I didn't even know he done it. I'm gonna make them all do it next year.
But I'm telling you, we need to brag on you.
Well, I'm gonna have class of the week next year, and you gotta come over here in your fire suit, that way people, and he'll get faint, yeah. I'm gonna get him a free hot dog for teaching me something new. Cause I didn't know he even done it, so yeah.
I've been able to say something, I keep forgetting it, but he's without fail, he's here every week.
No, that's great, yeah. And it's kinda like you go to church and you sit on pew number 8, that's where you always sit. And we get our regulars that come every week and sit in the same spot. But when we get new people, we've gotta entertain those people to make them like it. And one blessing, in a way, we've had this year is COVID has actually helped us, because, a lot of the theaters, the bowling alleys, the skating rinks, the places are closed down. So people's gave us an opportunity. So my main thing is start at 8, get over 10, 15, 10:30 to make it 2.5 hours all you're supposed to race. And get people to come back and get it in their blood. And we've actually had new people this year, and I've seen them coming back. So that's what we got to do.
Well, tell us a little bit about this week. I mean, I know you're like.
I'm geared up because we got race after race after race. Actually, every year on Sunday, next Sunday, I said we're cutting that down to 3 days. But when it's going on, I love it. I almost started last week. Just keep racing every night. But yeah, it's exciting. You see haulers getting here, and right now we're blessed with our forecast. I think we got like 78, 79 pre-entries now. So they just keep entering online, and not to save any money now, but it's just doing it so when they get here, it's less time, makes it go quicker. But the forecasts are killer in these big races. I mean, if you got a pretty forecast, a guy take off in California, if it says 60%, he's not coming. So we got a perfect week. It shows 20% on Friday and 20% on Saturday. That's 80% that it won't do nothing. So it's beautiful nights, cool nights. We got, actually tomorrow night we have time trials and practice. But Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday is unbelievable for fans because they will have heat races. We'll have a B and a C, A features every night. And we take a certain amount of the A that's qualified for Saturday. So it's a full, if you went to your local, it's a full show every night with over 100 of the best modifieds in the country. And that's gonna be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then Saturday night, I'm not for sure, I think we have about 4 or 5 B features along with a 71 lap main event. And, you know, these guys don't ever run that many laps. So some of them fatigue and tire wear and don't know how to manage their car. So it's a little bit different than what they're used to. So that's what we like here, to be a little bit different. And we're making them do something.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, this week is, I mean, for a race fan, if you want to be a fan and you enjoy dirt track racing, you need to come to Batesville Motor Speedway this week. I mean, like
You know what?
Mooney said, you got lots of racing going on.
We got a lot of racing. You know, when the modifieds first started down here, and I don't know how, well, 20 years ago probably, they spun out a lot. They wrecked a lot. They were little small hockey puck tires, open wheel, they hit each other, they spin. They was bad racing. I'm not gonna say they was good because, you know, and some people get that taste in their mouth, kinda like when you get spoiled milk. You know, when you taste it, you don't want no more. Well, they say, I hate them modifieds. But I mean, now over the years, they put on some, I've seen them come out of turn 4 a lot of times 4 wide. And they put on some of the best racing anywhere in the country. And I say, our modifieds are not like, you know, a lot of these short tracks, they do beat and bang and take forever. But on this racetrack, we go green, white, checkered 25 laps a lot of Friday nights. Because track's wide, we got good racers, and they're unbelievable. They put on a good show. If you're a race fan, any kind, this is a great race to come to.
Yes, it is.
What, talk a little bit about how tough the format is with the caliber of drivers that you'll have here this week.
Well, the key is LUCK. You know, you gotta have a lot of luck. Because when you walk at the gate down there and you draw at the back of a heat race, and you know, determines cars, but when we're only take top 2 to advance on to the nightly A, I mean, you got a tough nut to cut there, and you might get up to 3rd and get to run a B to make it to the back of an A, but I mean, it's a lot of luck. Yeah, you gotta build your game, you can't bobble, you gotta have your car right, but I admit, you know, there'll be some good cars go home, because if you got, I look for 125 cars, you know, I know the Super Nationals has like 973, or really, I don't know what they have, but they have a lot. And they've had that race for 33 years, and that's the king, and we're not trying to beat them. That's prestigious. And then Vegas is a big race. They have about 200, and Vegas is Vegas. People go to Vegas just because they can entertain their wife and get to go racing. But this is the most money that an IMCA car can win. You know, it's $1,500 to start, and it's a lot of money for these guys. And the B's and the C's pay strong. I mean, it's a $135,000 purse, so it's a lot of money for IMCA cars. But it's a lot of it's luck. You got to draw good, you got to run good. We do run our heat races long enough that if you do come to the rear, you should be able to come to the front if you're fast enough. But it's hard to pass a lot of cars when everybody's just as fast as you are.
You know, Wednesday night, it really gets underway. And we qualify 10 cars in on Wednesday night, is that right?
You know what, I was asking, I have to go home. I just come in from jopping, I'm on my way home. And look, because every race I do a little bit different, but I think you're right. I do every format different, but I think it's 10, 10, and 10, the best I remember. Or no, I think it's 8, 8, 8 because we run B's on Saturday and pick up the rest of the cars.
But even though you take 8 away and you qualify those 8 in on Wednesday night, Thursday and Friday night don't get any easier. It actually gets tougher.
No, you only got rid of 8 cars, and plus those other guys are hungry because we're down to only 24 more spots, you know, or 16 more. So. Yeah, I believe it is 8, 8, 8, then we run B's and pick up the rest of the cars. But yeah, it don't get any easier. Even on Saturday out of a B, it's not any easier at any time.
It's one of the most exciting weeks in racing, I think, around here anywhere, because the competition is so tough. Night in, night out, and then on Saturday night for the big race, there's racing from 24 spot on up. I mean, or ever how many you're starting. I mean, there's racing all over the speedway, so I mean, it is a fantastic show.
You know, I tell people a lot of times, you know, 10th is sometimes the best racing. There'd be 3 wide for 10th, you know. So they get spread out, racetracks 90 to 120 foot wide depending on where, and they race all over. You was talking about Travis Mosley, WAUGH, he's kind of got him a rim right up on the top, and I got some that get right down on the bottom, and once they get that groove, those grooves, I mean, it doesn't matter where they're at, they can get 3 and 4 and 5 wide.
It's an amazing week, and like I said, if you've got time, get out here at least one night this week. But you're world famous for your racing promotions, and just
It's a small world.
It's a small world, but no, actually it's a big world. But you're always coming up with ideas that just turn the racing world upside down. And you had a big announcement this past Saturday. And you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, you know, I run what I call street stocks, and we've got the fastest street stocks, but they quit running on a weekly basis. We got down to 4 or 5, so I quit them later in the year. And I've been looking for a class. Anyway, I want to run IMCA stock cars because I think that's an economical class. We don't have to write the rules. IMCA wrote them, all we got to do is enforce them. And I know I-30 started this year, and they're getting 6 to 8 cars a week. And they blended, and they're getting 15 total, but 6 to 8 are legal and 6 to 8 are illegal. Well, I'm not getting any younger, and I didn't want to start it and have 6 or 8 next year, and then in 2022 have 4 more, and in 2021, you know, in 3 more years I got 18. You know, that don't turn me on. And I said, man, I got to figure out something where people are going to build cars. So I said, and I said, we'll have a big race. And went to Boone, my grandson and I, and he was up there helping his dad. He rode, and I was talking, and I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna have me something like an Altel 100. He said, what was that? And he was just 4 then. He's 20 now, so I got to tell him about it. He said, well, what would you pay him, like 10,000? He said, that'd be huge for stock cars. And I said, yeah, I think I will. So when we got there, I went in there, and he and I, it was raining, muddy up there, and I went there to Brett Root, and I got to talking to him, told him, I said, hey, I think I'm gonna run the stock cars, but I don't have a big race. And he said, what are you thinking? I said, I don't know, 5,000, 10,000. You know, I done thought 50th anniversary next year. I done thought what I was gonna do, but I'm not gonna tell anybody, because number 1, they would think I'm crazy. Number 2, I didn't want it to leak out to nobody, because I was excited to get, you know, and I've been texting my racers. I told them at the drivers meet, Saturday at noon, I got a big announcement. I got them text me saying, I bet you're gonna pay 1,000 to win weekly. I bet you're gonna do all these ideas. That was pretty good stuff, but not $50,000. You know, and that's a lot of money. I don't
That's
know.
a lot of money.
Yeah.
That'd change a racer right there, right off the get.
Yeah, I mean, $50,000 is a lot of money, you know, and I understand, I'm a promoter. 10,000 to win would get the same amount of cars. But, 2 things. Number 1, it don't get the hoopla, like you said, people talking about it. 50,000 gets people talking.
Yes, it does.
And secondly, people in the grandstands. The people up down the highway that's not a race fan, reason I'm back up and tell you, when I had the Altel 100, and I got Altel to sponsor, and Scott Ford, that actually owned Altel at the time, how I got him was, he said, we get people all the time want to sponsor. He said, when you wanted $100,000, we wanted to listen, because that's a lot of money. That gets people's attention. There was people that come out here that literally never been here ever. And I'd say, hey Joe, what are you doing? I want to see somebody win 100,000. It's kind of like winning the lottery.
Right.
So this is the same way. I shot it up because people's gonna come and say, you mean one of these old street stock guys is gonna win $50,000? Yeah, you know, I went last Saturday night after announcing it to a dirt race up here, and 3 different people come up to me and said, now that's a $50,000 purse, isn't it? I said, no, that's $50,000 to the winner. And I think some people haven't soaked in and believe me yet, you know. And I don't have time to work on details, on pay, on win, or nothing yet till we get through this race for hope. But I'll have all that out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But I think it's going to be pretty big. I said I'll have 100 cars. And, you know, a guy today at GRT told me, he said, I think you have 250. Number 1, it comes down to weather. Some people say, well, I don't know if I'll go. I might go the next year. This is a one-hit wonder. You know, I mean, I'm not going to do it every year. I'm just going to pay it. And then the following year, I'll turn it into something else. But
for the 50th anniversary, it's $50,000.
It's $50,000, that's right.
And it's not just the IMCA stock cars.
Now, we're gonna do mods too.
You're going to do the IMCA.
I spit that off before I said it, but my grandson, you know, his dad runs a modified, Jeff Taylor, and he kinda throwed that out, I was, oh, heck, we'll do that too, so, yeah, we're gonna do, probably within 2 or 3 weeks apart, we're gonna pay 50,000 to the modifieds.
So it'll be the race for hope like we're here tonight,
Right,
and, $50,000 to the winner to that, and
yeah, we're gonna change two people's gonna like me.
Two.
You know, when they leave out here, everybody's mad and they talk bad about you, there's gonna be 2 people like me. Kinda like Terry Phillips and Scott Lucas, they both left out here with $100,000, so they like me. But everybody else, you know, they kinda think you do wrong.
I've gotta ask though, since the announcement, how well does Miss Connie like you?
Well,
she always, I'm thinking she wants to get rid of the cattle.
she's not a, you know, she's more conservative type. Actually, I was out there packing a track in '04 on a bus or something, and I remember, and I went over and I'm thinking, I said, I'm gonna pay $100,000. And I had a driver's meeting, I said, guys, we're gonna have a race next year, and it's $100,000. And she's calling before I even done the driver's meeting. Somebody done called her up here, and she's calling me, and she said, I said, we'll talk about it later. No, we're gonna talk. I hung up on her. She's mad for 2 days. She said, how you gonna figure that? Well, this is the same thing. I told Cole, my grandson, I said, you don't tell her nothing. And we made this little old video that we schemed up and thought it was gonna be fun, and had her film it. And that's the first she knew. Actually, she didn't have a clue, so lucky she didn't drop the phone. But she done the same thing. She said, now how you think you're gonna do this? And I said, you don't have to worry about it. From that fence over, I handle from there to here. All she's gotta make sure is we got popcorn and hamburgers and tickets sold and Facebook Live going, and she's that department, I'm that department. I'll make sure the tractors are running and the racetrack's good. So, but yeah, she'll be all right with it. We keep saying, you know, her and I both getting older, and it just kills us, especially these races here. But then once we get into them, get to having them, then we gotta get excited again and say, we love it, we'll be here till we die, you know. So we'll see.
You're talking about 50 years. Now, how long have you had this track though?
28.
28 years.
28 years. Dickie Lewis and Max Rutledge built this in 1971, and then Larry Shaw and Howard House had it in 1991. In 1993, Connie and I bought Howard House's out, and then 95 we bought Larry and Cheryl out, and then we've had it ever since. So since 93, and my math's right, that means starting next year will be our 28th out of the 51. So we've had it over half.
Right.
And like I said, I'll go back to another reason that we're doing this magazine and these programs. There's something out there that happened to Mooney last year that a lot of people in Arkansas don't know, but you were inducted into the Dirt Late Model Racing Hall of Fame. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not either.
I know
You
you're not, I know you're not, but
Well, here's the good and the bad part.
that's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Well, it was good. You know, the bad part is they get you a jacket. They bought me a 2X, so I can never wear it. I wear more X's than that, you know. And you got a plaque, and it's pretty nice, you know. There was a few. Larry Shaw, a lot of his family went. My grandson went, and my wife and I, and yeah, it was pretty good. You know, I see guys say they got shirts, Hall of Fame. You know, that's just not me.
And I'm gonna say, I was around him a day or two before he left to go up there, and it was just a normal day. But I'm telling you, being inducted in the National Dirt Late Model Racing Hall of Fame, that's a big deal.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm more of a showman than the other one.
More people in Arkansas need to know that. I mean, that's the kind of information that we're trying to get out, and
I'm a showman at the racetrack. You know, I want to shoot fireworks. I want people to flip their cars. I want to, you know, I told them, I said, if you're going to fight, I want you to fight on the front straightaway. You know, you don't fight in the pits, because that don't do no good. And I'm that kind of showman. I'm not pat on the back kind of showman, you know.
and he's not.
You know, just like the little video we dreamed up, me and my grandson, we thought it was funny to, you know, rather than just saying, hey, we're going to pay $50,000, you know, I mean, it was kind of more fun, because like John WAUGH example, he's sitting there watching this video with his dad was telling me this, and it said, you know, hobby stock's $50,000, he just kind of got aggravated and said, well, that's silly, what did he do it for modified? You know, and then next thing you know, and I said, we'll do modifieds too, then he changed his whole attitude, you know, so that's why we done it, just, you know, excite people. I think Brett Rude, we excited him because I text him on Friday, and we done this on Saturday. And I texted him on Friday, and I said, thanks for taking my call. And he texted me back, and he said, you didn't call me, did you? And I said, you'll get it tomorrow. So he said, you didn't make me look like a fool or nothing, did you? I said, no, you're good, you know. So yeah, we planned all this out on our way to Boone, and, you know, that's pretty good for me for 6 weeks to keep a secret like that. And I didn't tell a soul. Boy, I was itching a lot of times, because I tease people about coming, and, you know, actually, my street stock race that we had here, Dale Nelson from Tresvant, Tennessee, has got 2 Neesmith cars, he's got 3 street stocks. And I said, Dale, you need to buy another car. And he said, we're not buying nothing else. And I said, I bet you do. He said, I bet we don't. I said, I call that bet. Anyway, I went to Saturday night, I was in Wheatland at the Big Buck 50. And his crew guy, when I walked up, he started laughing. He said, that was a setup. Because Dale will have him 1 or 2 cars for $50,000. You know,
Oh, yeah.
It'll make people buy cars.
And people are buying them this week. So.
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, you know, like I said, I don't have time to work on sponsors yet. I'm gonna start that next week. GRT is the first one to jump on board. And they say, hey, what's it cost? And I told them I got 2 different, I did a title sponsor, but I said, then I need some small ones. And he said, put us in. So Jack Sullivan, they're selling cars, but they're, you know, I always say about sponsors, what they gotta realize, you know, goofy people like me are not gonna pay money if we don't get help. But when we get help, then that's gonna help them sell cars. You know, I think they sold about 5 or 6 over the weekend. So it works hand in hand. You can't be greedy in this business. Everybody's got to share.
Well, that's true.
Right. There's one big question that I've got to ask you, and that is, how hard is it here in Batesville Motor Speedway to keep a good announcer?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't know we had one. I didn't know we had one. No, I'm just kidding. No, you know, Bill, he's jack of all trades. You know, I'm not a tech guy. If I have technical questions, I call him, and he's been working up here probably, if I say 10 years.
7 years.
See, I was gonna say 10. 7 years now. I had him for teching for a while, now I've got him for announcing, and he's been a great help. And I've told him, I said, hey, I need another tech man for 2021. You gotta have a buddy to ride up here with you every week. And he says there's nobody else crazy enough to drive every week. But, you know, what you gotta have is people like him that love it. You know, he loves it, that's why he comes up here. I love it, that's why I'm out here. You wouldn't stand in turn 3 and get called everything but a white guy every Friday night for what you make some nights if you didn't like it, you know. And I've had people say, how do you put up with that? You know, most of the time, it comes in here and goes out here. I don't pay them attention because the next day, I know that they think, man, I wish I would've done that, you know.
Right.
Now, I fire back at them more than I used to, you know, just because I've been here long, 28 years, and my days are numbered. You know, I'm looking for that daddy that's got a son that wants to get into racing and I want to retire. I actually said at the top of this year that I was for sale, go retire. And I'm not saying I still wouldn't sell, but man, I dreamed up all these big races for 50th anniversary. I want to wait 1 more year anyway, you know. I want to have these 50 to win because I'm excited. I just think, like you said, that's going to change somebody's life. A stock car guy win $50,000?
That's something.
Yeah, that's big, you know, and old Joe Blow that pushes shopping carts over at Walmart. You know, and I'm not disrespecting anybody, but I'm just saying, it's your regular working guy.
Right.
He's gonna walk out here with $50,000. He don't make $50,000 in 2 years, you know.
And then he's gonna go out here and race one night.
For $50,000, you know, that's a lot of money. You know, when they come to the gate that night, I'm gonna make sure no switchblades or nothing, because they'll kill somebody for $50,000, you know. But yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be an exciting year, 2021.
Well, Mooney, we appreciate you letting us be here tonight. It's been an honor to have you on the show.
Oh man, I'm so glad y'all are doing this.
We got a big week ahead of us, and ladies and gentlemen, that'll pretty much close out the first early edition coming to you on Monday night, our Tuesday night tune-up. Next Tuesday night, we'll be at our regular time and day. Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, we'll be coming to you from the Centerville Dragway in Centerville, Arkansas, as they get ready to kick off the 24th annual, I think, Street Legal State Championship. It's the oldest heads-up street legal race in the world, and Wayne Stiles, the owner and promoter of the Centerville Dragway, and his family will be our guests. So until then, for Heath, TATE, Mooney, Starr, John WAUGH, Travis Mosley, and Ray Sullins that was here earlier, we'll see you next week.
See y'all.